Hello, everyone. I am Lynn, Dream Girl Writer, coming to you today with an invitation to just consider that fears are divine. I have made this video for you to accompany an audio, which I called Divinely Human, and also a dream will be included with this email, with this video that I entitled, We Can Stop Now. And if I were to put a subtitle on that, I would say, Rest in Peace. And what these three titles or subjects have in mind is to impart to you how really important it is and sacred to be able to clear our fears, to be able to face our shadows, our pain of this past or any other life, or the conflicts in our relationships, and to really look in the mirror and to see ourselves truly, to be compassionate and to be gentle, but to really be honest with ourselves about how we can get to the bottom of this so we can get to the top of ourselves, so we can get to the zenith of our human existence, to be divinely human. I often remember, especially when I'm clearing shadows or working on a dream, unpacking a dream that has brought up a lot of fears with it, that the book that was written by Robert Fulghum, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Everything I Needed to Know, I Learned in Kindergarten. This is true. And this is where, if you can remember, hopefully you had a period in your childhood where you felt fearless and you felt like you could do anything and you felt like the world was your oyster, and you were always going to your parents or your caregivers and saying, or your teachers, and saying stuff like, when I grow up, I'm going to be the president of the United States, or whatever it was that you did or said. you know, those dreams are still there waiting for you. What happened along the way, as Robert Fulghum so aptly describes in his book, is that we've covered them up with things. And other people have sometimes covered them up for us with their imposition, and especially in our modern world that has lost a lot of its best customs and traditions and communion with Mother Earth. Certainly, that the patriarchal paradigm that we operate under has lost a lot of heart and, has really subjugated tremendous creativity in children that at least used to be able to get to a young adult level. And we start our kids in school so early, and we impose on them so many expectations that we had, or maybe we're imposing on them our own vicarious goals, if you will, that is so rampant in our society. And we have just lost a lot of faith. We've lost a lot of trust. We've lost a lot of heart. And it does take all those things to be able to face your shadows. It does take all of your strength and your kind of best core authenticity, your best honesty, to be able to look fear in the eye, or to look pain in the eye, or to have somebody throw an accusation at you again and again, if you will, possibly as a patterning thing in a relationship that keeps happening. It takes a lot of heart and a lot of trust and a lot of gentleness to be able to face that and be honest and admit the part that you have to work on, the part that you are maybe using to add fuel to the fire, to keep the conflict going, the part you are afraid to look at because if you do, maybe you think your life will come to an end or that relationship will come to an end. And yet, if it does, not your life, the relationship, if the relationship comes to an end, it was meant to come to an end. And it is not, you didn't cause anything by looking at the conflict and by getting through it all the way through to its resolution. What you did was the best thing you could do for yourself and that other person. And if the relationship has to end, by going all the way back to its resolution, you will have all the kindness and compassion you need for that other person because you have shown it to yourself. And that's the number one attribute or quality that I think needs to come into play when we are facing our fears and clearing our shadows is to be kind and gentle to ourselves first. Because fears are in our body. Fears take a place, a position in our body. When something traumatic happens to us, even if it's before our conscious memory, before verbalization in this life, it has lodged someplace in our body. And it is never going to go away unless we consciously release it. First, we have to sit with it when a conflict comes up and really feel the deepest feelings of it. Then we have to accept that it's there without distracting ourselves or running away or justifying, that it's there because of someone else or putting it onto someone else, projecting it outwards. We have to stop doing all that and at least acknowledge that it's ours. It is ours. Every fear that comes up for us is ours to own. Once we do that and sit with it a little bit, however your method works out best for you, because this is a very personal, intuitive thing that you will do. So I'm telling you in my words how this process works. And I'm going to give you a dream example after this too, but you your feelings are so unique to you and how you process feelings and how you actually feel in your body, how in touch you are with feelings and where they are in your body. That may take some time to kind of bring all those things together to kind of assimilate a process in order to know what the actual fear is and to acknowledge it and to sit with it and to really feel it deeply. But it is yours to do. And it is an honor. It is an honor. I like yogi teas because they always have a little saying on the tea bag. And this one says, even a journey of 1,000 steps, of 1,000 miles, starts with a single step. And that's what I'm imparting to you here is just start. Just imagine that you could get to the end of your fears, that you could be pain free, whether that's mentally, emotionally, or even physically pain free in this life. Just imagine that. Let that step, that first magical, mystical thought or concept, just percolate a little bit around you and ask your mind, just entertain it. Your heart is always sending you these kinds of messages. So if you want to just go straight to your heart, it will be there with you and say, yes, go walk on, child. I wanted to share with you the dream that also inspired me to make this video and the audio. And that is, I called it We Can Stop Now. I was married for 36 years, and a lot of beautiful things came out of the marriage, including three children and five grandchildren. And we had a lot of good times, and we did have a lot of love together and a lot of affinity for each other. But I'd say that it was at least at any point in time 50 to 60% conflicted. And it's because we carried our burdens, our pain, our shadows from our childhood. We were married young, and we carried our shadows right into the marriage, and they never really left us. Neither of us were able to ever really grow up with each other within the relationship. And this ex-husband, I was separate or divorced from him for about 10 years before he passed from this life. And it has been about 3 years since he has passed. And of course, I had dreams about him for many years while I was in the marriage as well as after the marriage. And after he passed from this life, I continued to have dreams, but they took on a whole different color because, of course, he's existing in an ethereal realm. He's existing in a dream world. He's across the veil, as far as I'm concerned. And so the messages had a different color to them. They were much more open and forgiving. And because I know all my dream symbols very well, the symbology even shifted a little bit about him. And so it was tough for me at first because I still carried a lot of not bitterness, but heaviness about the marriage. And I felt victimized by him and by the relationship. And so when the new dreams started coming, the spiritual, the sacred part of our relationship began to show up in dreams. I started paying attention, but it was very difficult at first to admit my own part in the dysfunction that we had together. And yet, every time I did, I was given this sweet release, like a weight, had lifted, like something had gone from my body, which it had, of course, was that fear, that conflict. When you're in conflict with someone, there's a hook at each end. And whether you are the person who's perpetuating the conflict as an oppressor and the other person is, trying to get away from you or is a victim to you, there's a hook at both ends. And even though there may have been things in the relationship that he did to me or I did to him, it really didn't matter. It just mattered that they were cleared. It didn't matter who did what. It just mattered that we returned to love. And after these 3 years, just this morning, I had a dream in which, and that's the dream reveal that is attached to the video that comes, the email that comes, that brings you this video. I feel like we finally came to closure. We finally returned to love, that we can stop now. We can stop punishing each other, hurting each other, and we can rest in peace. He can rest in peace beyond the veil. I can rest in peace in my life to know that neither of us did anything wrong. We just connected with each other's fears more than we connected in love. And it is a really beautiful feeling to have gotten to the end of that. And I really felt like before I had pretty much gotten to the end of it, but it was this dream this morning that kind of clinched it for me. And I know it is a result of all the inner work that I do. Some things will kind of just percolate below the surface before they pop into your awareness or come out as an epiphany. But if you continue to do your work, whether you feel like sometimes you take one step backwards and two steps forward, or two steps backwards for only one step forward, it's that one step. It's the beginning of the next part of the journey, as the tea bag says. No matter how many times we fall down, we can always get up again. If we're still alive, there's still time for a do-over. There's still opportunities for us to heal ourselves and others. And there's still a reason to keep the faith, because everything that you needed to know, you actually knew from birth. Thank you for listening, and blessings on your journey to clear your fears and to heal in this life. Much love to you. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.